Hello and welcome, everybody that is joining live and also on the replay. We welcome you into this space. Thank you for joining us. I am Jasmin Magdalene Rose, and I am here
Yes.
today.
Hello, I'm Molly Magdalene. Thank you so much for joining on this beautiful equinox,
Mm,
wherever you're seeing this, either on the live or joining us on Zoom, or if you're watching this later. Um, yes.
mm.
Oh,
So, our intention for today is to just introduce those of you who are thinking about perhaps joining the Magdalene Flame Egypt retreat and to just share what is unique about this journey with us, why we felt called, how we were brought together, why we felt called to create this experience, and also address any questions or concerns that people may have who would like to join. Egypt has certainly, it's a place of power and activation, and it's like an ancient library full of codes that, to be honest, each time one goes, there's another layer that gets revealed, and it is a very profound and transformative experience. And it can bring up many things, both beautiful and not so beautiful. It's got the light and the shadow, and it really can trigger a lot of memories because many of us drawn to Egypt, in fact, many people have actually incarnated in Egypt at some point in time. And many
mm,
people that are drawn to Egypt are drawn there for a reason at a certain time. And that is because they're basically being called by their higher selves to remember, to reactivate certain dormant codes, and to step into a deeper level of embodiment of those codes on their own paths, which can be very unique. And each time we go, another layer is revealed. It's incredible. And we find that, well, from my own experience, who we go with can really, it's our frequency that opens the doors. It's our intention that opens doors and closes others. And we really intend to be able to strengthen as a group together, to amplify our frequencies, our codes, and our light, and to be able to really have a profound experience together in a way that's very natural and healing and uplifting and safe. Very important, safe
yes.
and sacred.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for that, Jasmine. That's such a beautiful introduction to, what may be drawing you here, what may have called you. This is also, the Magdalene Isis thread that's
Mm,
woven together and an opportunity to come into community right now through this temple codes community that we are kind of launching tonight as a way to bring others together that find themselves stepping out of the spiritual closet on the spiritual path, awakening to initiations that may be coming through for you, through the sacred feminine way, a new way of being, a new way of doing that maybe others around you, like Jasmine was speaking, like, it kind of, when we go on these initiations, some doors will close, and doors will open. And especially during this time, through the eclipse energy, even that we've just been having, which creates soul alignment, it allows us opportunities for soul expansion.
mm,
And that could be through, new groups, new communities where maybe there are certain um, even just words that can activate, like Egypt or priestess or dragon codes or ley lines or things that just kind of bring out that sacred yes. Um, but that feminine way is really important to Jasmine and I both. So maybe we just take a moment right as we're, kind of diving in here, but just to ground,
Mm.
to land, to call ourselves in, to this space, um, to just invite you in as we're continuing to gather. Um, Jasmine, would you want to just bring us through just a little bit of
Yes.
grounding?
Sure. Okay. So, hello, for those of you that have just joined. I invite you all to just take a moment to close your eyes and place your left hand on your heart, your right hand on your womb, and just come into your body and just take a few deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, just allowing your mind to drop down into your heart. Deep breath in. Allowing all thoughts, worries, concerns, and activities of the day to melt away. Calling all of you back to this present moment. Deep breath into our heart, into our wombs. And exhale through your mouth. And then bringing both your hands in front of your heart and breathing deeply in. Breathing in love. And exhale, expanding that bubble of love out all around you, through each of your bodies, your physical, your etheric, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual. And again, deep breath in. And exhale out. And breathing in, see, sense, or feel with your in breath, breathing in a pink flame of unconditional love of the divine feminine. And exhale, expanding that pink flame out throughout each of your bodies, feeling yourself engulfed. And just allowing yourself to be fully present and to love and accept each and every part of you as it is in this moment. As we now begin to call in our higher selves, our beloved I am presence, and higher selves of the light, we call on our ascended master guides, Isis, Osiris, All Set, Oser, Hathor, Horus, Heru, Thoth, Jehuti, as well as the rose lineage, Nephthys, the lunar priestess, Sekhmet, the solar priestess, Maria Magdalena and Yeshua, Christos Sophia, and any and all beautiful beings from on high that wish to overlight this meeting today, to come and be present and surround us with your guidance and your light and your wisdom. Thank you. And gently opening your eyes when you are ready. Whew. Bless.
Yes, that was beautiful. Uh, and if you have a candle nearby, and if
Mm,
you don't, that's okay. We can light this sacred flame, right? To
yes.
call in our circle as we awaken or reawaken our ancient wisdom and inner union, inner reunification on this equinox journey. Hmm.
And this new
Yes.
moon in Virgo.
Yes, that too.
Just-
Right. And Libra, did we just move into the sign of Libra? Is that
I think
today?
I think so.
Yeah. Just connecting us into our inner power and our embodied radiance.
And this is maybe also a moment to talk about the Magdalene Flame. And what is the Magdalene Flame? So the Magdalene Flame the is an aspect of the Christos Sophia. So the Christos Sophia template or energy stream is that ancient stream of divine union, of sacred union and balance and harmony between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Sophia is known to have incarnated in as Isis and later as Maria Magdalena, whereas the Christos frequency incarnated through Osiris and then later Yeshua. As there are also there are other beings who were incarnated with this flame, but it's like the same oversoul that gets reincarnated in different forms, and that's why they carry their unique coding, their unique energy, but they hold that frequency on the earth grid of that Christos Sophia, that sacred union between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And the Magdalene Flame holds the feminine Christ stream of that aspect, which is about holding or going in the direction back into realigning this frequency of balance between the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine that is so needed and so called for and so ready to be expanded and re-embodied by more and more women in particular. And also this will assist, and also men, but they will hold more of the Christos coding, the masculine Christ coding.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes, we all have these energies within, and we all embody both, right?
yeah,
To ignite that flame, that creative sexual fire energy that runs through. But we have to have the feminine energies first to soften it, just like we did, right? To ground into the body, that embodiment, and to be able
mm,
to connect into our receiving, a receiving vessel for these energies to flow through. And
mm,
I really want to share our symbol that we created for this group and for our collaboration of this retreat, because I think it's so sacred and represents so beautifully what you were just sharing about the lineage.
mm.
Can we do that?
For sure. Yeah.
Yes. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about how we met. And then, yeah, these temple codes of the Magdalene Flame were so important to honor and embody, knowing, as we awaken into this spiritual path, um, we see ourselves as more than just human, more than just this 3D world, and being able to open up into this new lens of seeing ourselves as sacred and our relationships and the planet, which are all mirrors, right? These are not new, right?
Mm,
To recognize that when we have this, when we go on this priestess journey, that these sacred fires of initiation happen to awaken us in order to remember and reclaim who we are.
mm,
And that starts with the star seed energy of recognizing that, we came from the stars. We'll go back to the stars, that we are these divine beings having these human experiences. And these, we have a quantum mind. We are a multidimensional being that can heal, right? That we have alchemical hearts, that we are self-healers, and that we have these magical manifesting womb spaces that we can birth universes besides create, birthing projects and ideas and books, we also like we rebirth ourselves, like this energy that
Mm.
we've been separated from for so long, or made to told that it was, you know, evil, bad, wrong, anything that disgraced being connected to our womb space and our yoni space. And it's because there is so much power and magic in that energy, and connects us closest to our feminine crown at our roots, who balance the masculine crown at the top, right? And bringing these energies together really is the magic, the flame, um, of you know what the priestesses were, the ones who were the spiritual leaders. They were the ones who, um, were able to walk, the holy rebels. They were the ones to walk and talk an evolutionary way. And the mystery school teachings, like, these are not old, these are very ancient wisdom, these are not new. um you know the recognizing that we are multidimensional beings, and alchemy, and working with the energies of the earth. And this is everything that supports us in building a new earth and a new way of being. And these sacred sites really activate these remembrances. And I'm going to share. And Jasmine, if you'd like to add anything to that first. Um,
Yeah, sure. It's also the priests and priestesses. There was a lot more equality
yes.
and honoring of the divine feminine and the divine
Yep.
masculine within both men and women. So they shared equal role. They complemented each other rather than competed. And it's also, if you don't identify as a priestess, it's the path of the initiate was also to balance the masculine and the feminine. In all mystery schools throughout the world, it comes down to balancing the inner divine feminine and the inner divine masculine, because that is a path of mastery. And that is what opens up the higher levels of being.
Yes.
Yeah,
The inner union journey, the sacred union journey
that's right. Because it's
of a
also
higher level love.
it's also the inner union between the human and the divine aspects of self. So Hieroskamos, or sacred union, is not
Mm.
just the masculine feminine, but we need that in order to then unify the divine and the physical, the human. Yeah.
Yes.
That was like one of the
Yes.
core teachings of a lot of uh, mystery school traditions. Yeah.
Yes. That higher level frequency, right? Where we have inherited these ancestral wounds, beliefs around love, that we are here to heal in this lifetime. That's why we are divine alchemists, to heal these wounds of, um, you know, dependency, like codependencies around love, or conditions
Trauma
around
bonding.
love.
Yeah. And you were just mentioning alchemize or alchemy. And actually, the ancient name of Egypt was Chem, from which we get the word alchemy and chemistry. So Egypt is all about alchemy, transformation, refinement, purification from a grosser or a denser state of being to a more subtle sense of being. Yeah.
Magical.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you can see on the screen right now, we do have the landing page for the Egypt retreat, which we can talk more about. But I really want to share this, really, because this was a little bit of a labor of love for Jasmine and I to come up with what was going to represent the energy. And this symbol is the Venus, the star of Venus in the background, with the Isis wings, and the Magdalene anchor with the solar feminine rose, with the golden rose.
Rose.
Yeah, so it's this divine feminine frequency, this lineage, um, that that has created like symbols, sacred geometry is its own activation. And there was something about this image when it all came together that was like, yes, this is it. This represents, um, what this journey is about and what this awakening is about and what we are remembering about where this comes from.
And the rose is obviously a feminine symbol. It's, the symbol of the divine feminine. It's one of her symbols. It's based on the sacred geometry of Venus, which is a pentagram. And the rose is based on the pentagram sacred geometry, as is our hearts. It has actually 5 cavities, not 4. So even the heart, that's why sometimes we might hear open the rose of your heart. Um, it's very connected to the heart, to the divine feminine, and yet it's gold, which is a quite usually associated with the divine masculine. So this golden rose, why the golden rose? It represents that aspect of the union between the divine masculine and the divine feminine again, and also the solar, but also the lunar, the receptivity, the feminine, which is the Venus aspect.
Yeah, and the Venus when the it's travels, it makes the star, right? It makes the
Yes,
pentagram when
that's
it
right.
journeys to the underworld and back again. And if anyone that, has worked with the archetypes of the Age of Light, that has been um my tangible, like what's been created through my own sacred journey, it
Mm.
follows the same thing where it goes through the journey of, of descending in order to rise, and goes through that same cycle as the um as Venus does. So it follows it from beginning to end. Okay. Yeah, and then we have Mahat on the side, the Isis in her fullest, what is that? Her fullest equality, her fullest place of balance and harmony when Isis embodies Mahat,
Mm.
and you'll see her in this form in the
Yes,
hieroglyphs.
yes. Isis is normally shown with the throne and on over her head, and yet in many depictions she takes on either the crown of Hathor, which is like a solar disc encapsulated in cow horns, or Ma'at. So she can appear in different forms. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna st- stop this a minute. So yeah, maybe should we share about how we connected, how we came to
Yes.
to to be? Okay.
And how it was instantly connected to Egypt,
Yes.
and yet it
Yes.
was in Avalon in Glastonbury. Would you like to share that
Yeah.
part? Okay.
So it was, oh my gosh. So I started taking solo trips. My first solo trip was in 2019, and it was to Glastonbury, to Avalon. And that was just such an empowering journey, an empowering trip. And then I went back again last year. There was a really beautiful friend that I had met through another retreat who was a soul sister, and she was leading a retreat in Glastonbury, to work with the ley lines, the healing. It was a healing vortex retreat, and we were working with the ley lines and the dragon lines. And there's some very, very powerful points in Glastonbury, also known as Avalon. And it was such a trip that it took a lot out of me. The first time I was in Glastonbury, I felt like I did a lot of receiving. It was very activating. I had a lot of initiation happen. This one, I was really kind of tired. And I can't remember where we had been that day. We might have actually been at the crop circles, or we went to Avebury, which is a really beautiful sacred location. But we ended up in town and we were doing some shopping just to, and I found, and Glastonbury has the most beautiful shops. And I found myself drawn to a shop full of crystals and jewelry, of course. And it was actually this, this pendant of Isis.
And I met you
Um,
in the shop.
yeah, yeah, this pendant that started the conversation between Jasmin and I, and our love of Egypt and of Isis. And she was telling me that she was going to be there soon, and she's this beautiful guide. And we started talking about even the stone, which I can't remember the name. What was
It,
the
we met in front of the cabinet of the Libyan gold tektite, which comes from just like oh, the green one. I've forgotten the name of it. It comes from a
Moldavite?
Moldavite. That's right. Whereas Moldavite works on the heart, um, Libyan gold tektite, which is found in the desert, the Libyan desert of Egypt, comes from a meteorite, and it works specifically on the solar plexus as well as the soul star chakra. So it opens up the higher chakras. It carries that golden frequency of abundance and, the divine masculine and the gold frequency, which is
Yeah. Oh, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And then we started talking about, what we each did. And immediately, there was this yeah,
connection.
recognition, like soul lifetime recognition. It's like, okay, we're gonna stay connected. And I think you had even said you were going to be in Egypt,
That's
in
right.
like a month or so.
Yeah.
And you were
And
offering healings, like
that's
channelings,
that's right. Yeah.
while you were there. And I signed up and it
Mm,
was like, yes, please. And had this really amazing healing channeling session from you, from the sacred site of Hathor in
okay.
Dandara.
On the
And
full moon.
yeah, so beautiful. So beautiful. And yeah, even when I saw your Instagram handle when we first met, and it was Magdalene, I think it was
Mm,
Magdalene Sanctuary of Light. And we didn't even get to the, Magdalene part when we'd met. It was just kind of the
mm,
Egypt, I don't think. But yeah, so we stayed connected.
yeah. And it's interesting we met in Avalon, which itself is held within a pentagram of sacred sites. So it again holds that Venusian frequency, and that's what we've kind of brought into our logo. So that's beautiful
Yeah.
as well. It really shares, encapsulates our connection, our story, and what we're creating together.
Yes. And for anyone who's not familiar with Avalon in Glastonbury, it's the sacred site of Mary Magdalene. There's beautiful chapel there. I had the first time I went, I got some really beautiful downloads from Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. There's a ley line of Archangel Michael that runs through at the tour as well. But these sacred sites they were priestess sites. They were initiation sites, and they were places of remembering. And so there's a lineage, right, that continues to be traced into these, where these mystery, school teachings were being shared.
Yes.
And
And And Mary Magdalene was a priestess of Isis. She spent time,
yes,
just as Mother Mary, she spent time in Egypt, um, learning, remembering and being activated and recalibrated to hold a certain frequency, which she then it was her soul mission to then share her codings and embed her codings into certain grids, which she did in Glastonbury or Avalon as it is
yeah,
otherwise known. Yeah.
so many people are drawn to that location. And it's it's understandable why, when you get there and experience very much like Egypt.
Yes.
So fast forward. So after that healing session, I had no idea, I had not planned to go to Egypt or be in Egypt. But it
Mm,
had always been like a childhood, wish, dream, since I was little. I think I remember looking at the National Geographics and seeing the temples of Giza, and just kind of a knowing, like, yeah, that's where the lost city of Atlantis is. Like, and if anybody follows archaeology or is in a geek about archaeology like I am, they are discovering so much under the pyramids right now. It's so exciting. Um, but I actually ended up going to Egypt. There was a beautiful offering through We Are Sacred Planet, and I was talking about getting my oracle deck like
mm,
published through Flowered Life Press, and I was talking to the friend and Astara, the publisher, and at the same time, there was this beautiful email that came through saying, "Hey, uh, this here's a great experience to come to Egypt," and there was also like an opportunity for archaeology if I wanted to do that, and I had to pick the piece I could, but um, I had to decide which one, and so I talked to Astara, and I was like, "Hey, I really think I need to go on this trip," and she was like, "Yeah, what's another year? We'll wait." So I went, and there is so much. These are living temples. There's so much manifesting energy there. And the experiences of Egypt, whatever calls you there, what the energies, the frequencies, there's a lot of support, I will just say, to move you into soul alignment. And one of the living temples, um, Sekhmet, who is the lion-headed goddess, uh, there is an opportunity to connect with her. And, you know, Jocelyn, our guide, said, when you connect with this living temple, which we will also go see this temple too, when we are in Egypt, she will move mountains. She will move
mm,
mountains for you for whatever
mm,
your soul truly desires. And there was also an invocation with the sun that she shared with us that I will share with this group too, past the ripple. But when I was there was just this knowing of like, oh, I want to lead. Like I want to lead in Egypt. I feel so called to share the priestess initiations, and this is it. And I even, you know, reached out to Jocelyn when I was there and just kind of said, "Hey, if you plan to go back and you want to do this, give me a call. I'm totally in." And I didn't think anything about it. It was just something I kind of put out into the universe. And I think within 2, maybe 3 weeks tops of returning, you reached out to me, Jasmine,
mm,
and invited me to co-facilitate this really beautiful offering and opportunity. And it was just a resounding yes. It was just a full body knowing that this was going to be where, like, how it comes together.
mm,
And it was so aligned, and I knew like what was coming or what I wanted, and just kind of got out of the way of what my head said versus how it was meant to be. And yeah, and we've been creating these opportunities of this masterclass in order to, invite the frequency and the energy and the community to come together, and really recognizing, like, creating this retreat together with like how we want to do it and what's important to us. like the integration and the embodiment.
Yes.
And maybe we should share a little bit about the itinerary and
Yes. And
some of the places.
yes. And also why, yeah, thank you for sharing that for everyone that's listening. We also want to talk about why we have structured our itinerary the way we have, because a lot of groups, when they go to Egypt, tourist groups, retreat groups, they all, a lot of them go for Giza first, the pyramids first, and they work their way down, or they might start in Luxor and just randomly pick places that they first want to quickly get to, the most talked about places. However, the ancient path of the initiate was always to follow the flow of the Nile up. The Nile is the only river in the world, by the way, that flows north. All other rivers are said to flow south, except the Nile. And the Nile flows from the south of Egypt, which is otherwise known as Upper Egypt, up to the north of Egypt, where it comes out. I think it's Alexandria. I'm not 100% sure, and it comes out in the north, in the Mediterranean Sea. And the ancient Egyptians intentionally built their temples along the Nile, along certain key nodal points that best suited the intention and the properties and the initiatory journeys of each temple. And it works from the root chakra, which was connected to Abu Simbel, which has now moved to another location, so it doesn't hold that same energy. Then it went to the temple of Philae, which is connected to the sacral, which is the temple of Isis, the emotional bodies, the waters. That temple has been shifted to another location as well within the same area. However, there are remnants of the original location, which we will be visiting, which holds so much power. It's really it's the most powerful site for me in Egypt, really. And then we will travel, and then they traveled up the Nile. So each of the temples corresponded to the next chakra along the spine, and that was very intentional. And the reason why the initiate would begin from the base and then slowly move up, following the serpentine path of the Nile, which is also another embodiment of Isis, is that it would subtly and gradually open up the energetic centers, the subtle energetic centers of the initiates' energy bodies to be more open and be able to receive what's
Mm.
waiting for them at the next temple location. So it was very intentional. So what happens that we are more, so what will happen is that we'll be more able to receive what there is for us to receive, after going through this initiatory journey, following the flow of the Nile. Um, it just prepares us on all levels. It's very subtle, and yet it's what the ancient initiates did. Whereas if we go straight for Saqqara, the pyramids, people will experience it, but in a different way. It will be more of a tourist experience rather than, the intention for our groups to have more of an initiatory pilgrimage, to follow that ancient path of the initiate, to remember and awaken again. So that's why we
Yeah.
chose to follow this particular route. Yeah.
So excited for that. That just it gave me goosebumps when we decided to do it that way because
Mm,
it was such the it was Isis's path. Like it is the way. And even though, when you come into Egypt, you will be met right away with someone who will meet you and greet you and we'll all gather in Cairo. But then from there, the next day, we're going to fly together as a group. So you're not doing this alone, right? We are creating our group together and going to Aswan, which is where these sacred sites of Isis are in the temples. And I agree with Jasmin. I think that was one of the most powerful places I
mm,
had an experience, as well as Sekhmet, but definitely Isis. Um, of remembering, of reawakening, of um, that priestess
Huge.
path.
Yeah. And these
Yeah.
temples, these places will meet you exactly where you are on the path. They will meet you exactly where you are and then work with you from there.
Yes. And so we're going to take our time. We're going to take our time moving up the Nile and visiting these sacred sites, these locations with embodied intention. And along the way, we're going to be doing some amazing things like a blue lotus ceremony and a sacred oil workshop and
And we have an
a
incredible astrologer with us as well, Anouk Sophia,
look.
who has spent years living in Egypt actually, and she works with the telluric energies of the Earth grid. So she will be sharing her wisdom, her insights, and her codes about each of the sites that we go to as well.
Yes, and we have a licensed Egyptologist who will be with us. We have a really beautiful team who is very familiar, very comfortable, very aware, very mindful, and divine feminine led, um, in balance with the masculine energies to support us on this path. And Jasmin has such a beautiful experience with leading, and I have experience with leading retreats, and just so excited to share this this amazing journey. So we will move to Luxor, and then from Luxor we will end in Cairo,
On
and we
the spring equinox, where we shall have a private entrance and ceremony between the pores of the Sphinx and also in the Queen's chamber and the King's chamber. Yeah.
yes, so we will have such a beautiful sacred day on the spring equinox. So this the very next equinox. We're so fun to announce this on the fall, since the next one will, well, it's fall here. It may not be for everyone. Um, but
We
yes,
open the itinerary, the website, just so people can kind of see.
yeah,
So
let me put that in the chat. Um, yes.
and we also want to give time for integration. So it's not like we're in a rush to get to the next place. You know, the intention is to have a really full, rich, and deep experience at each site, to take our time at each site, and then to, before we move on to the next site, to take time for integration and embodiment and processing and, yeah, resting as well, and preparation for then the next one.
Yes, we'll have some down days. Um,
There
time
will
to
be.
rest, renourish, recharge.
And we're
Um,
staying at such beautiful places where, you know, in Luxor in particular, King Island, which is the place of the Jollyville Hotel where we'll be staying. It's basically a hotel on an island. There's nothing else there. We are on this beautiful, tranquil space with beautiful gardens, direct access to the Nile. So, where no one is going to come and bother you or hassle you, you can have peace and quiet to take time for yourself, to integrate, to meditate, to be creative. So we find that's really important to ground in, yeah, it's, you know, Egypt is on the grid of Africa, which is the root chakra. So this is also a place of grounding, and we really want to take time to ground and to anchor what we are embodying and reawakening, which is why we felt let's stay at this location, which will allow people to connect with the earth in an uninterrupted, peaceful way in between, to connect with nature, with Gaia for recalibration, realignment, grounding, and healing as well. Yeah.
yes, so the link is in the chat. It says about, that is the link. It just goes to that first page. Um, we could share it if you want to, just to navigate a
Yeah.
little bit
Be
to
handy
see
to
it.
give
And then if there's
everyone.
any questions, yeah. So there are, um,
different tabs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there are different tabs at the top or on the side if you're looking at it from your mobile. Um, but there's the about page, the itinerary, a little bit about us, your accommodations, investment, and why Egypt. So yeah, it's it's 13 nights, 14 days.
And everyone that will be joining is obviously going to be birthing a new aspect of self. You know, this is an initiatory passage through the ancient living temples of Egypt.
Yes, and I think all days there might be one day that we are visiting more than one site, but it's just because we're doing a sunrise and I believe a sunset.
That I think is Hatshepsut,
Yes.
Hatshepsut and Luxor Temple, which is a temple that's most powerful in the evening or early morning.
Oh yeah, should we talk about the oracular practices?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the other thing that was really important to both of us. To really hold space to activate, but also to help expand spiritual
Mhm.
gifts, and the ones that Egypt tends to really hold space for is the throat chakra, um, especially Hathor and Dendara, the heart and the throat activation. So frequencies, vibrations,
And
tonings, sounds, and
and
then
also I just want to share also Giza. Giza and the Sinai area are also on the Earth where there are different grids, but there's like the rainbow serpent grid, which starts, I think, somewhere, oh, I'm not exactly sure. I know goes through Machu Picchu, then it goes to Uluru in Australia, which is the solar plexus. Then I believe it goes up to Glastonbury, which is the heart chakra. And then it makes its way to Giza, the Giza Plateau, which is where the pyramids are, and that's connected to the throat chakra as well. So
yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely connected to the throat chakra, Egypt, in several ways.
So the sacred sites on the planet, right?
Yes,
This,
rainbow
yeah, the
split.
rainbow serpent. I've not heard it called that, but I love that. And
Yeah.
I actually had a really powerful experience with the rainbow, with like rainbow wings of light with when I was in Egypt. That was kind of part of a an initiation journey for me. I'll
Yes.
have to share it a different time, but yeah, so powerful to be on these dragon lines, these ley lines, and to be activated with this energy.
And we're also
So
going to cover the Miraphor tradition in this journey. The Miraphors were the priestesses of
that's
ancient Egypt. It stems from ancient Egypt and it was then passed through the Magdalene lineage. And the Magdalene, well, okay, so the Miraphors were priestesses of the oils and they worked with the spirit of the oils for anointing and initiating and healing. And we'll be covering a lot of that as well throughout the trip. And we will each have the opportunity to create our own oil and to have and to charge these oils at particular sites with the telluric energy grid points of Egypt. Yeah.
yes, so you will have um your own sacred, remembrances of with you when you come back. And for me, that was so important of, the stones I charged or the things I brought with, but also, to bring those home and continue to use them and have them be activated in that way. I took a lot of jewelry to the sites,
Mm.
a lot of crystal jewelry too. So when I wear it, it holds that energy. And I think this one was the one I took uh to the King's Chamber, to the pyramid.
Ah,
It was
the Isis
real,
pendant that you're wearing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, and so we will end up back in Cairo. Um, yeah, on the Giza Plateau, and then we follow that following day with Saqqara, and Saqqara is one of the oldest sites. And that really is going to be we're integrating it all together there before we have our evening closing ceremony and depart the next day. So yes, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful experience. Um,
Does
and
anybody have any questions at this point at all? Even-
and maybe with the just touching back on the master class for a minute too, this is an invitation to invite you to take the first step in the Magdalene journey. And joining this group, which I did I put the link? I don't think I put the link in. We can put the link for right now it's a Facebook group. It's the Temple Codes of the Magdalene Flame, Sacred Community. And I can share that link, and we'll put that in the description too. So if you're catching this later, um, but this is going to be, you know, the um, the connection, right? The and also collaboration. So we invite anybody who, would like to offer ideas. We'll have some guest teachers. If that's anything you're interested in participating in, um, if you'd like to be spotlighted for, any gifts you would like to share, please reach out to us or join the master class. Um, but
We will
yeah.
have more information about them coming up in the next few weeks. So if I assume that everyone is part of that group. If not,
We do have some people joining us live, I believe, on um, Facebook or sorry, on
oh, okay.
YouTube that may not necessarily. Um, I'm not sure how to check questions on there.
Yeah, let me check.
Yes,
Looking. Hold on.
just switch brains. Um, yeah, if there's any questions about the class, any questions about the retreat, we are, would love to just create a sacred community, to hold space. I've had a book club before about, Mary Magdalene and the Magdalene frequencies and taught courses. And she comes up over and over again with each initiation, with each archetype for the age of light that, you know, has been the shadow work and the light work. There's always an essence of frequency of her and Isis. There's such beautiful role models and guides and frequencies to work with. And we have a lot of religious wounds that come up with this work. And if there are religion wounds, there's usually sexual wounds and sexuality, embodying that frequency, that sexual empowerment. It also brings up witch wounds and embodying our spiritual gifts. And it can also pull into these wounds of sisterhood wounds, of supporting one another, of collaborating with one another, versus competition, versus, some finding those wounds in other lifetimes where there's been betrayal or there's been um, hurt that we're here to heal in this lifetime. So it's such a powerful uh, journey
Yeah.
to wholeness, because that's what it's leading to, right? The most healed versions of ourselves, the most integrated, embodied versions of
Now,
ourselves.
yeah. Now I know that many people, particularly now, have some concerns, or it's been for the last few years actually, you know, due to the what's happening in Israel and Palestine, there have been concerns about Egypt getting involved, or, the crises there kind of spilling out into the Sinai Peninsula. And I just want to say, when you're called to Egypt, when we feel that call, and this is something I learned in my first trip, I actually didn't want to go to Egypt, but the call to go there, the call of Isis when she calls you, it's very strong. So there's basically everything pointed me to go to Egypt at that time. And I remember I actually didn't want to go because I had, I was, a lot of people were warning me against it. And I thought, well, I've got this calling that's so strong and everything's pointing me in that direction. And yet, there are some people that have doubts and fears, concerns. The news was, making it seem as though Egypt might get involved as and yet I followed that call to go. And it's incredible because I arrived in Dahab, which is on the Sinai Peninsula, which is relatively close to that area. And I was there for a few days, and then suddenly there was some explosion in the water and that shook some of the buildings in Dahab. And I thought to myself, oh my God, what have I done? I followed this call, and, and here I am where something's just exploded off the coast. What a mistake I've done. And I thought, right, well, I'm going to change my itinerary and I'm going to just get my first flight out of Dahab to Cairo, which was my next stop, but I wasn't meant to go for another 2 weeks. And what happened is that, well, I found out my flight was cancelled without any, and I thought to myself, this is why, why they cancelled the flights. So this all kind of seemed to trigger all these deep-seated fears I had about going. Egypt will do that. It can amplify your fears because it's connected to the root chakra, because it's on the African grid as well, the grid of Africa, the continent of Africa. However, so what ended up happening was choreography had it. The next available flight to Cairo was on the 20th of December. So then what happened is that I ended up being in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid on the morning of the winter solstice, the 21st of December. What happened there is that I was sitting meditating beside a woman who 4 days later I then happened to be on the same plane with. And she said to me, I've been to Egypt many times before. I'm organizing, I've met a few solo woman travelers that are wanting to go to temples, and I'd like to kind of make it safe for everyone. Would you like to join us? So we ended up going to all these temples in Egypt, each of them. We all ended up travel, well, not all of us traveled to all the places together, but it was like the lesson was when Isis calls you, when you feel that call to trust the unknown, and to trust, it felt to me like, Isis's wings were around me. And she was reminding me, this is, another level of initiation to trust. To trust when you feel that call, to trust that inner compass when it's directing you to one place, despite what might be going on in the outer culture regarding, news and, that fear, to choose love rather than fear. And that
Mm,
ended up opening up so much for me. And I mean, I can go on about that, but
mm,
that was a very powerful experience. Even though we weren't following the Nile journey, from from Upper Egypt, which is known as the south of Egypt, up to the Mediterranean. We weren't following that route. Um, Yet it was it was exactly as it was meant to be at that time, and it was deeply, deeply powerful and very activating. And a lot of my healing gifts became activated through that first trip as well. Yeah.
ah,
Yeah.
so powerful. So powerful. And yes, that is this journey, right? That's beautiful, beautiful
Choosing
connection
love.
into what this path is, which is moving from fear to freedom, moving from fear to love, saying yes to maybe a non-traditional path or something different that, that looks different from others around you. And um but really just recognizing, right, your authentic call, your authentic truth, and what's calling you, and being connected to that intuition, to trusting the process with where you're led. And even though that is part of the initiation, throughout this class, the master class, the community, and the Egypt trip, it is really important to Jasmin and I both that we are holding a safe container for you. We, we have made this an experience that's going to create a knowing and a trust and a safety so that you can open and receive.
Yes.
Because, having experienced, through our own initiations and own retreats, and we both have a very good understanding and knowing of what we needed, and to be able to provide that for you.
Absolutely. And, traveling through Egypt is just as much an outer journey as it is an inner journey. And, I've visited temples where, people it can be quite an emotional experience at times. We might have past life memories come up, or just a cellular memory of certain events or feelings, and all parts of us are welcome. We're going to make sure that we stay attuned as a group, and yet there's space for everyone to go to experience, as much as they can experience, and all parts are welcome, all parts are safe, and there's this unconditional acceptance and love, where we stay connected to each other and yet are also able to have that profound, deep experience. So it's not so much, I know some groups where they will go to these sacred sites and then they'll go home and party, or go out and create a lot of noise, and then they're on to the next temple. And that, we want to open ourselves to truly be able to receive the magic that Egypt has for us.
Yes. Yes. And I love that. Thank you for saying that. And community, right? The community that is called, right? If you're feeling this call to join, right? If you're feeling the yes, if you're feeling the goosebumps, if you're, feeling aligned with what's moving through, and it's I've not had, nothing is by coincidence anymore. Everything is alignment. And so when you follow your intuition and your sacred yes, um, right, you will be with the community that is holding space for that. That's opening up to this. That you can explore and play and express and learn and create, and with other people on the journey.
And you don't have to be a priestess as such, but it's just you feel this call to this frequency, to this lineage. There's something in you that's saying, I'm feeling drawn to this, to trust that feeling. So it's not that, you need to have a specific title or identify in a certain way, it's about
Yeah,
following that inner compass, that,
yeah,
that inner heart's call. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was the first time I had heard the word priestess, but it wasn't until, like, I come from a therapy background, trauma informed therapist, art therapist, and very seasoned. I've been doing this for almost 2 decades, and um, it there were so many offers for retreats and for classes and courses, but there were certain words that were just like an activation to me, and priestess was one of them. And it was just like, oh, that, like, it wasn't something I identified with at that time. It wasn't something that I was actively seeking out, but it's the same thing with Mary Magdalene, where it was just like, oh, I want to know more. I want to, dive into this deeper. Same thing with the word mystery school. There was something, I was receiving these downloads from, when I first started going on the solo trip, and the one in 2019 when was my first out of the country trip. It was to Glastonbury, and that's where I received these big, beautiful soul memories. And um, after I returned, I started creating these courses. I was getting a lot of channeling, and my spiritual gifts had gotten enhanced through that trip, and I was receiving these downloads, and it was on like quantum healing and alchemy and like sacred sexuality and things that used to feel aligned didn't anymore. And these rememberings were coming in, and I didn't know them as mystery school teachings. I just thought this was, divine feminine. This was healing in a different way. Like starseed, I kept getting the word age of light, age
Mm.
of light. And then I think it was a book I read on the Egypt tablets, the
Emerald tablets
emerald,
of thought.
yes, emerald tablets of Thoth. And as I was reading that, I was like, oh my God, this is mystery school teachings. What I've been getting downloads is from, is, it's not a me thing. It's a we thing, and it's an awakening that is happening on the planets to re-remember on the
Yes,
planet to re-remember um, ancient wisdom for moving into a new way of being.
yes. And the Egyptian Neteru, such as Isis, Osiris, Nephthys, Thoth, Sashat, Nut, Hathor, all these Egyptian Neteru, as they're known, or otherwise known as gods and goddesses, are actually their forces, their frequencies that we can attune to, and they represent aspects of our inner self on that we can learn from, and their stories and the mythologies connected to their lives are actually like an inner compass that we can refer to and learn from as we embody and integrate these frequencies and balance these frequencies within ourselves as well.
Yes, so we will be
And
sharing this in the
it's part of
master
the journey.
class,
Yeah.
sharing more about the Netaru and more about the frequencies and these temple codes of remembering. So invite you at this time. Yeah, if you have questions, if you're feeling called to join, please join the community. We'll be putting more information there about dates and times. There's also an opportunity to bundle this with the Egypt trip as well, or the Egypt trip does not feel like this retreat is aligned, or if you're still feeling it out, that's okay too. And the course will be available. Okay.
Hey. Thank
And
you everyone for joining us today.
yes,
And
yes, I just
for
want to check
everyone
the chat real quick. Thank you.
and
Yes, thanks for
and for
joining.
everyone that is joining the replay, you are just as much present as those joining live. So thank you everyone.
And please reach out if you have any questions. You can reach out through the community. Should we put our email on there, Jasmine?
Yeah, yes, that's a good idea. It is on the website, and it's 11:11 right now where I am.
Okay, it's 8:11 here. So I connect that with the crown chakra and the
Amazing,
light body, the 11,
amazing.
11's light body warrior energy. So we are activating that Christed consciousness and bringing that down and through.
So,
All right.
so the
Um,
email, uh, our
should we
email.
put it in the chat?
Yeah, would you want to Magdalene Flame egyptretreat@gmail.com.
almost got it.
Great.
Okay, Magdalene Flame at egyptretreat.com.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll post that in the
In the group, the Temple
yes, and the
Codes Magdalene Flame group.
yes. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful fall equinox night and holding space. Thank you to our divine beings of 100% truth, love, and light, Isis, Mary Magdalene, divine counterparts, the Nataru that are already
Working with
holding
us
space,
and
yes, on
preparing.
this activation and awakening journey.
And this journey really begins the moment we say yes. We follow that
Yes,
call. Yeah. Okay.
definitely.
Thank you. Bye.